You are listening to EXO, aka Big Macca, on Sick Radio. It's a sunny day, and you just heard Lighthouse. Yes, it's my station. Why wouldn't I play my own shit? But now we're gonna take you on a trip down memory lane. What's good?
And we are live. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Ugly Crying Podcast. And today I have a good friend, Jordan, on to talk about hustle culture and what it's like to be a creative in this day of age. So, Jordan, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, so I am Jordan Morris, most commonly known as Jay Morris. I technically kind of made that nickname, but not really. I tried to change it, didn't work out. I am not a recent graduate yet of Brock University, almost there, 2 classes. And I also do some creating, as Asia mentioned. I do some photography work and video work. And my handle on Instagram, if you want to check some of it out, is at _JMorris with 2 S's at the end. And funny thing, sometimes I forget my Instagram handle and I have to check my phone. So I hope it's _JMorris with 2 S's.
If not, I'll put it in the show notes in case anyone's looking for it there. Because I
Perfect.
feel you on that. Not many people remember their handles, especially when there's underscores. I feel like that's always the tricky part.
It's because I don't really have a unique name, so finding like different variations that are unique but also not too crazy. It's not very easy with Jordan.
No, I feel that. Especially, I feel like on the app now, all the like common names are mostly taken. Like even Asia's taken by many people, so I
Really?
had to slap on like my middle name. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not.
Um.
You can go. I'm very
Oh,
sorry.
no worries. I love how still even over Zoom, there's still that awkward like, oh no, you're talking. Oh no, you're talking, and then it's just complete silence for like 5 seconds.
The life
It's
of
fun.
Zoom.
Honestly, welcome to Zoom University.
Welcome.
The reason why I brought Jordan on today is because, well, where we first met, oh God, I hope I don't get this wrong. All right, first year of university. Yeah, it was first year. And we both joined Brock University's Marketing Association as ambassadors for the club. I'm literally looking at Jordan just to make sure I'm telling the story right because it's
No,
been so
honestly,
long.
before we joined, I was honestly thinking, did I meet Asia before BMA? And I was like, let's not dive into that story because I don't know. I feel
Yeah,
like I did.
no. It could have been through like mutuals at a party or something, but like honestly, my memory shot from first
Yeah,
year. I
I
couldn't
that's
remember.
one thing I've realized. I do have bad memory.
Yeah,
It's part of accepting myself.
it is what it is. So it's fine.
No, I was gonna say it. But the water slip off the duck or something like that.
It's water off a duck's back, but nice try. Oh my gosh. Jordan and I were just talking about different catchphrases people use in this day of age, which maybe by the end of the podcast, I'll ask him which ones are his favorite. Because I feel like, always finding a new catchphrase makes you a bit more interesting in conversations. I know that's something I try to pay attention to when I talk to new people. But anyways, back to how we met quickly, just so I can rant out how awesome Jordan is and why he is the coolest person to be on this podcast and talk about this topic
Oh,
on. I know, flip your hair. But basically at BMA, not only did we have an interest for marketing, because I feel like at the time we weren't 100% sure if this was something we wanted to go into. I feel us and like several other ambassadors in the group just got along really well. Like I feel like we all had the same level of ambition. But we also knew that we also wanted to still have a good time in university. So I feel like over time, everyone kind of took their own individual route in terms of their own passions. However, we all still remain to be good friends and support each other in whatever endeavor we choose to pursue. And I've always been inspired by the way Jordan goes about expressing himself and just the way he makes everyone feel in the room. And that's how I want any of the listeners tuning in to feel that welcoming and approachable sense of self when being around Jordan. And he's definitely taken his career above and beyond. And he hasn't even graduated yet. So I feel like that speaks to a lot of his skills. And I hope all of you gain just as much insight and inspiration as I have over the past few years that I have known Jordan. How does it feel,
and
Jordan, for me to kiss your ass for like 30 seconds?
Yeah, I was just about to say, not to discredit anything that Asia said, but I like this is a constant relationship Asia and I have with each other that we always
Mm.
tell each other. Like, she'd say that she's inspired me. I was like, I'm the one that's kind of inspired by you, but appreciate it for sure. But yeah, for sure, I admire Asia. I've always kind of, as she mentioned, especially that BMA group, we kind of always support each other. No
Hmm.
matter what each other's doing, we have our yearly gathering together. Got postponed because of COVID, but it is what
Hmm.
it is. And yeah, I was secretly, not secretly, but I was nervous to join this
Hmm.
podcast. But of course, being with Asia, it's just flows with conversation, just as the person she is.
Aw, thanks, man. That's the thing that I love so much about these episodes is that it's really just a chill convo. It's nothing too serious,
Exactly.
all organic, as people would like to use. But on today's episode, though, I really wanted to tap into Jordan's brain and talk a little bit about hustle culture because I feel like it's such a buzzword, but also pressure that many of us face, not only being a business student, but also just in all facets of life. I feel like whether you want to be a provider for your family or you kind of just want to prove your parents right that you can be independent, or maybe it's someone else in your family that maybe has put a pressure on you. You feel like there's always just this go go go. So Jordan, have you ever felt hustle culture before, and how would you define what that means?
Personally, I'd say like yes, I have, and to the point of how did I kind of resolve it or get over it?
Mm-hmm.
It's a constant battle, to be honest, and it's still kind of something that I deal with continuously. It's just I feel like hustle culture in its broadened sense, what I think of it is just kind of it stems from comparison, I feel,
Mm-hmm.
because a lot of times you literally may be doing exactly what you need to be doing on the right path, but then you go on either social media, you see other people doing the same like kind of things of you. It's like, oh, they're
Mm-hmm.
doing so much better. And then that kind of comparison brings up, okay, maybe actually doing more. And then once you see these people doing the same thing, they're posting, oh, I'm doing this at this type of hour. Oh, no sleep
Mm-hmm.
for me. It's just like, oh, maybe I need to be doing that. Maybe I need to be doing this. It's just like that kind of constant thing, or it's like it's kind of everywhere. It doesn't even have to be only social media. That's kind of my sense of it. It's just like how
Mm-hmm.
that is kind of always constantly around. How I personally kind of handle it or how do I deal with it is in social media sense, I try to take my breaks. I have
Mm-hmm.
my limit set on social media for my iPhone. Shout out to Apple for that one. And I try to, if I do use social media, I've been trying to use more it for kind of inspiration. So basically tweaking my own mental and seeing instead of comparing myself, okay, it's like, okay, these people may be better, but obviously someone has to
Mm-hmm.
start somewhere. And that's how I kind of deal with hustle culture, kind of switching the mentality from being a hustle culture, kind of like an inspiring culture in a sense.
Mm. Okay.
So that's kind of my take on it. And just kind of, in the sense that I said, the limits on iPhone, just kind of knowing yourself and what those triggers are that triggers you to feel that it is hustle culture. Because
Mm-hmm.
you can try to be, not try to be, you can say, oh, these films are overwhelming at these times, but you in yourself, you will kind of know what has triggered that moment. And
Mm-hmm.
it's up to you kind of have that awareness. It's like, okay, I know I'm doing this. I know I want to be doing this, but some things on this path are not as healthy. And
Mm-hmm.
you kind of have to have that awareness. So that's my
Yeah.
take on it.
I like that. Like I kind of just envisioned it, especially when you said, everywhere you look around, there's always someone to compare yourself to. It kind of reminded me of if you're doing like if you think back at track and field, like a 500-meter race, and everywhere you look, people are kind of just trying to get quicker to the finish line. And sometimes life isn't really just a sprint, it's more of a marathon. And you're really just trying to enjoy the pace that you go at, and it's not so
Literally.
much like this instant gratification that you need to receive, like this big rush or adrenaline. So I totally get what you mean there. And I like how you brought up the screen time because I feel like that's a perfect example of setting your digital boundaries. And I
Mhm.
feel like setting boundaries, some people feel can be a bit disrespectful because people feel entitled that like you need their attention all the time. So, have you ever felt at any point, maybe when you were setting these boundaries or not maybe being on social media as often because you set your screen time limits, that you still had to show up anyway? Or you felt like, you weren't being fully present with your digital presence because most of your job, I'm assuming, a little bit is on social media, right?
Well, like in a sense, majority of it is, especially
Yeah.
now because you kind of like to get more client work or to get jobs, they have to have something to reference to. And if you
Mm-hmm.
don't have a website, which I've realized not a lot of creatives, unless they're really like selling their work or something like that, have, they
Mm-hmm.
usually majority use their Instagram, especially with the business handle with a book now and email me and everything. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, but going to the first point, I do feel that a lot of times when I do try to set that social media limit, I do end up feeling that I am, I guess, R bombing or D bombing people. D
Mm-hmm.
bombing's delivered bombing. So everyone keeps the context here, but you feel as if like you're not connected to people
Mm-hmm.
and you're not talking. And it's like, I don't know, it's like, again, also knowing with yourself and knowing the people around you, hopefully they can understand that, okay, it's not that I'm ignoring you, I'm not trying to have a conversation with you. It's like best for myself in a sense.
Yeah, I
So
agree.
that's one thing, especially because I want to turn them off, but I have my notifications off for some stuff, but like having
Yeah.
notifications off for social media, I only have it
Yeah.
on for when people either message me or I get like a personal notification. I don't get
Mm-hmm.
like all the likes or like all random stuff. So I try to keep off. But it's just like, okay, I see they're messaging me. I was like, maybe something stupid, maybe something serious. You just never know. That's why I try to push everyone to text me. It's just like, I swear I could text you. But yeah,
No.
it's it's balanced. It's weird. It's different sometimes.
Yeah, I get that, especially when you said notifications. Like, if I look at the timeline of how I set my digital boundaries, I think the first one was definitely setting that screen time limit. But then I always felt myself clicking, push it to 15 minutes later, or
15
like
minutes
just
more.
15 minutes more.
Ignore for the
And
day. Sorry.
the amount of times I click ignore for the day. Like, I know I go on about like, yes, digital wellness. I'm absolutely
Mhm.
still guilty of still clicking ignore for the day.
Literally same.
I'm like, it's 2 p.m. I still have like 10 hours of the day left, 8 hours. I
Yeah.
kind of want to know what's going on. So, like,
Yeah. It's like that curiosity mindset is always going to be there at the same time as well.
exactly. And like, that's why I liked what you said when you turn off specific notifications. So, like,
Yes.
there are certain people on the gram who I don't want to unfollow because I get curious, but I know their content makes me want to compare myself. So I
Do
just
you,
mute them.
I,
Do you do that too?
I utilize the mute options. Like one of
Yeah.
my favorite buttons on Instagram. I'm not going to lie to you.
I totally agree. And for those who don't know what the mute option is on Instagram, Jordan, do you want to give a quick blurb of what that means since
I'll
you
show
love it
you
so
how
much?
I'll show you how to even get to the mute button. So there's a specific profile that's the content they post. It's not good for your mental. Let's say in a general sense. You can
Hmm.
have that whatever you like. And like for me personally, it's just okay. Yeah, it's like you're friends with that person, or you may just know them. It's like you don't want to unfollow them. It's not
Mm.
like that. It's just don't want to see their content all the time.
Yeah.
So you can go on their profile and then at the follow button, there's a little arrow that's for more options. I usually do no, I mute posts. I'm a story guy when I'm on social media, to be
Mm.
honest. I look
Hmm.
at stories and I'll post stories, but some people I will mute your posts. And if you are listening to this and you have realized that I am not liking anything, you may be muted.
That's how you know, everybody, that Jordan has muted you.
It's nothing personal. It's nothing personal. I swear. I
Check
would
your
have unfollowed
likes
you.
now. Check all your recent posts. Search up Jordan's name, Instagram handle down below in the show notes.
Oh, maybe I messed up. Who knows?
That could be no. Sometimes I've actually had that. Like I go in wanting to mute someone, but because they have a very common name, I end up muting someone else. And I
Oh,
feel awkward because I'm like, why aren't I seeing this person's posts anymore? And then I realize I'm muting the wrong person. So be very careful with who you mute, guys.
yeah. Do you like? I know you do follow and you have a lot of followers, but at
Uh-huh.
the same time, you can just sense when there's like a odd profile is missing or something, right?
What do you mean?
Like on my timeline, I can just like sense just like I haven't seen this person post in a while. Like, what's going on?
Oh, I see what you mean. Well, fun fact. I don't actually use my timeline anymore.
Oh,
I don't. Because I avoid the explore page in my timeline because I know that's my trigger. Like you talked about, there's certain triggers when you go on
ah,
social media, and I know that for me it's the explore page because it always shows me things that make me want to compare myself.
mhm.
And on my timeline, it's people who from high school that I don't even talk to. And time is precious, guys. You have about what? Okay, let's assume you sleep for a good amount of time, maybe like
Asia, what is a good amount of
12.
time? Because fun fact, Asia did not sleep throughout university, and we were all confused on how she kept doing all of this. But yes, continue.
I'm not gonna answer that question because it's not a part of the podcast topic. But disclaimer, get your 7 to 8 hours in, kids. It's good for you. um, but yeah, that was one of my boundaries I set for myself. I was like, you know what? I always get eating up my time when I go on the timeline explore page. So what I do is I actually, this is gonna sound so bad, but I have a list on an Excel spreadsheet that has all the accounts that I actually want to engage with and actually check in on, like content creators and specific
Mm,
friends. I'm very much quality over quantity. And at the end of the week, I kind of just want to make sure I'm managing those relationships. And what I do actually is instead of liking their most common posts, I actually DM them or I send them like a text being like, hey, how it's going? How is it going? And why I do that is because I'm trying to change the way I build relationships where my connection and appreciation and recognition of you isn't through a like or a comment, but it's through like a genuine, meaningful conversation or like a comment through like texting you personally or just messaging something personal over a direct message. So I'm just trying to change the way I think because before I definitely used to measure like how much you appreciate someone through a like or a comment.
mhm.
It's very slow progress I've been doing, but that's kind of like my practical steps I've been taking to set my digital boundaries too.
That's pretty smart, and that's a good thing though. So you said it's a slow process, but you figured
Yeah.
out where your trigger was. You're aware, and then you're making the active steps. So can't blame you for that. Can't knock your hustle. Might have to
Hmm.
copy your hustle because that
Yeah.
is a smart idea. Because that's the same thing. Like with the digital boundaries and everything. Like I've tried
Hmm.
to, if I see content creators like different photographers or videographers, I try to follow more accounts like that. So it's
Yeah.
more on my timeline,
Yep.
but I do
I
still
agree.
have the general timeline. But
I like that though, how you catered your timeline to suit the content that you want to see as opposed to what the algorithm shows you.
the algorithm's scary. I still don't know it, but Asia does. Social
Yeah,
media
I do.
strategist.
Next podcast topic. But actually, going into that, I feel like that's such a good segue into the next question because you briefly mentioned how you are purposely shaping your digital landscape through actually following photographers or other content creators that inspire you. So, do you feel that hustle culture has some benefit to it or an advantage? Or do you feel it's full on like cancel hustle culture?
Um, I'd say it depends on the perspective that you take it in,
Hmm.
but I do feel that hustle culture could not could, but can be viewed as very inspirational, to be honest.
Mm.
Because
Hmm.
that's another thing with the mentality switch that I that I mentioned earlier. Like instead of viewing all these people, all these contents like, oh, they're better than me. I should like not saying that you say this, but I'm worthless or whatever, or I'm not never gonna
Mm-hmm.
get to that being that good. It's kind of like a humbling factor in a sense, but also inspirational. It's like, okay, this is what is possible in the industry. This is what could be taken, and also
Mm-hmm.
taking, like, literally everyone has to start somewhere, and
Mm-hmm.
it's not like the best. It's not like Messi. Well, he's pretty good. He did get it young, but it's not like the first time he got a ball, he was doing everything. Or your
Yeah.
favorite creator, your favorite artist. It's not like the first thing they did, they were bam, amazing at it. It's
Mm-hmm.
literally the time you have to put in, and a lot of people like that are great in things, they always have someone that they have looked up to. They didn't look at it as kind of an
Mm-hmm.
intimidating factor. They looked at it as more inspiring. So I think hustle culture is good, but you have to kind of be aware of yourself and kind of make that, not make that mentality switch, because it's definitely easier said than done, but be
Yeah.
active in trying to switch that mentality instead of from viewing as hustle culture and intimidating into more
Mm-hmm.
inspiring. It's like, okay, this is what can be done. Let me just keep working at it.
Mm-hmm. I like that. It kind of reminds me of, when you have a gym partner and they motivate you to actually continue the workout, to practice your form because
Mm-hmm.
they're keeping an eye on you and you're making it more of like a team effort, a collaboration, as opposed to maybe a comparison. It kind of reminded me a bit about imposter syndrome, if you're familiar with that concept. Yeah. So for those
Yeah.
who don't know what imposter syndrome is that are tuning in, it's the idea that when you compare yourself to others, you feel like a fraud within your industry or in this new practice you're pursuing, where you feel you're not good enough or you're not worthy enough, or that the only reason why you made it to where you are right now is because you feel you got lucky or it just happened, but not because of your hard work or your effort. And the big part that really struck out to me with your answer was that as long as you are not comparing yourself, hustle culture can be to your advantage. And if anything, looking at what other people are doing can be pointing out a learning gap that maybe you want to tap into. So instead of thinking, oh, I want to be them, it's more of, oh, they have this cool new skill that's enabled them to reach XYZ achievements. Maybe that's a skill I want to look into. So it's
Exactly.
sounds like, yeah, like you're switching your mindset from, let's say, back to basketball, being an expert at basketball. You could switch that mindset to being an expert at learning. So that way there's like this continuous need to continue trying new things and being okay if you fall on your butt or maybe you just don't make the shot, because
Mm-hmm.
your goal is to just be good at learning new things and picking up new things, as opposed to maybe putting yourself in this one box. So you need to be the expert in this certain category.
Exactly. And they always, like, the cliche they always say is to not try to be the smartest person in the room, but the person that always
Mm-hmm.
wants to learn. Like, if you surround yourself
Yeah.
with people that are always better than you, then you're obviously gonna get to that stage. So that's kind of one thing I try to keep it in the back of my head. Obviously, as I keep saying, I hope you probably hear this more than once in this podcast. It's always easier said than done. And I know that personally with
Agreed.
myself, because I would catch myself like giving different people advice. And then it's just like, have you listened to that own advice? Yeah.
I feel that. I feel we're all have that little part of us, especially with a close group of friends, where you give them quote unquote good advice, but you're kind of like, have I actually found that? I don't know. A good
Life comes at
segue
you
on that.
fast.
Yeah. Yeah, life does come at you fast, honestly. Do you have any practical steps then for anyone that is trying to shift their mindset where hustle culture can be an opportunity for inspiration?
Hmm. Uh, let's just use it in a practical sense. Let's see. With myself, I guess it kind of goes hand in hand with the limits and setting, like, making your own digital arena with what you want to see. So I'd
Mm-hmm.
say I kind of leverage both, limiting my viewability. So what I see on social media, it's
Mm-hmm.
instead of me looking at it, which would have been an initial thought of, okay, well, their stuff is so good, mine is so bad. It's
Mm-hmm.
just like, I guess maybe in a bad sense, but I go on the person's profile and I'll just like scroll down all the way to the bottom and just
Yeah.
see their progress. And it's just like, that kind of reminds you, like, yeah, of course, everyone starts from somewhere. And
Yeah.
then, yeah, that's off the top of my head, that's one of the things that may be weird to some people, but that's one of the things that kind of helped me.
No, that's a really good tip. I like that. And it's something that anyone can do. It's something I've actually done before. So I can attest that that's a very good idea because I know there was this one girl and she was a marketing coach. I know that was something that I wanted to do at the time. But I
Mhm.
thought, there's no way she started off like this. Like I was just trying to fight the imposter syndrome. So as I like scrolled and scrolled and scrolled, because she had about like almost 1,000 posts in this one account. So it took me a while, but I ended up finding out she was initially a yoga instructor. And I was like,
Really?
there you go. People can't just like, be born into an expert in their field. It definitely takes a lot of work that you may not see at the face run. But if you do some digging, using like the
Mhm.
method you mentioned, Jordan, to just visually see their progress and where they started, like where their chapter 1 was versus where they are in chapter 50, I feel like it's a huge like a mindset wake up call.
Literally. And also in a not in a less creepy sense because they don't really know you're scrolling to the bottom. But even if you'd like, you can just even message people because I've realized, like, even with myself, when people come to me, it's like people
Mhm.
really don't mind talking to people. You literally just have to take the first step and then be like, okay, I'm trying to do this. I see you're doing this. How did you start off? And that's kind of how you can learn the different, even the mistakes that they've made, the learnings
Mhm.
that they've had to go through. And people always, well, I can't speak for everyone, but for myself especially, like when I see people wanting to get into the photography videography industry, I may not know a lot, but I will show you and I'll still help you out with whatever you need help with. Everyone likes to see people growing, and I like to teach people in a sense because I like to
Mhm.
express my expertise, but I wouldn't say expertise. I know a
Nah,
little
you're an expert.
knowledge.
You're an expert. Come
I know a
on.
little knowledge.
I like that though. It's definitely encouraging collaboration versus competition. And I feel that is like the foundation of many creator spaces. I mean, I feel anyway. I haven't really been in many cutthroat creator spaces. Usually everyone's just trying to build each other up. And like you
Exactly.
said, give some knowledge on some tips that maybe made their day a bit more efficient as a creator, because I know things can really pile on. I really liked the bit you talked about when it came to networking, because I feel like in this day and age, a lot of people are trying to build relationships, but they find with the pandemic, there's a bit of a barrier because you can't really go out to events or just meet people on the street. So, do you have any tips when it comes to networking? And a follow up question is, how can you network without burning out? Because some people can be introverts and they may feel they don't have the same energy capacity to go out there and constantly talk to people.
Mhm.
So what's your
Okay.
thoughts on that?
Okay. Well, just to clarify, when
Mhm.
we say networking, I know you
Yes.
mentioned like kind of the new world, new normal we're living with the pandemic. Do you also you want me to touch on like the previous network, like the normal networking, I guess?
Yeah, we could do a bit of both then. We could do a bit of like pre-COVID networking and then now like how have you gone about it as well, whether you are an introvert, extrovert, or maybe in the middle. I've always found you in the middle, but
I was about
yeah.
to say I don't think I'm either one. But
Mhm.
yes, I low key said that because I wanted to tell the story.
Okay. Story time.
But for networking, so originally Asia mentioned that we met in the Rock Marketing Association, BMA for short.
Mhm.
But technically during that time I was in the accounting program, which is kind of a big thing at Rock. And our co-op started within that program within the second year. So first year is like not only just adjusting to university life, it's like, okay, we're getting you ready for an internship in the next year as well. It's like, so we had a class where it was basically a co-op prepping class, and we had different networking sessions. and they always told us, oh, do all these things for networking, ask these questions, always like put your best foot forward in that professional sense. And personally, like I didn't even get to a networking event yet, but personally, I kind of always hated the word networking in a sense,
Mm-hmm.
because I
Mm-hmm.
always just felt that it was like pressuring someone to like, okay, you have to go to this person that has something for you, and you have to kind of talk your way into getting that or achieving that. But I always view it networking as basically just treating people as people.
I like
So
that.
we had this event, but like I think it was the last event. No, this was in second year now. This was the networking event before all the co-op applications started. It was a big accounting event, and all the top firms and some of the medium-sized ones around the Niagara region were there. And I I had my notebook of all the notes and everything from what the co-op class taught me, had my business cards ready, had they literally had a class with us before giving us how to sell a 30-second elevator pitch and
Mm-hmm.
networking. I was like, oh my God, this is a lot. So I just found my friend and we were chilling. And then we found these two guys. They were from EY, Ernst and Young, big four firm, very big deal in the accounting world.
Mm-hmm.
And we saw them kind of alone. They looked kind of young, and we just talked to them. They're like, oh, did you used to go to Brock? Like literally, like just genuine stuff that I was interested in. So basically, that's one tip I'd say. Talk about stuff that you genuinely want to know about the person and genuinely want to have a conversation with about the person. It does
Mm-hmm.
not have to be necessarily about the networking event. If it's a marketing event, you don't have to talk to the person about the marketing industry. If it's an accounting event, you don't have to talk about accounting. So we literally
Mm-hmm.
talked about student life at Brock and soccer and how they played intramurals after work at EY. And I don't think I ever ended up talking about accounting. Those were the only two guys I talked to after we had like a 40-minute conversation, and I just
Mm-hmm.
left. I was like, that's the end of my networking. And I did all the applying and everything. And like literally everyone was like, oh, I didn't get any of the big four interviews. And I literally got the EY interview just because I
Nice.
was talking to these guys. So that's my testament to saying networking, I'd say it's not lost its meaning, but it's pressured into being this whole
Mm.
professional thing. It's like, oh, you have to do networking. It's never really just communicating or talking or conversating.
Yeah.
But that's kind of my tip, is kind of go into networking as not as if it's networking, but treat as if you're going to, not, I wouldn't say a party, but you're going to a space where there's people.
Mm.
People have different ideologies, people have different views, and you just find one thing that you want to actually genuinely are interested in and just start talking. Because once you find the right person, as I said, we ended up having a 40-minute conversation, didn't talk about accounting at all, and still
Yeah.
ended up getting an accounting interview. So people
Mm-hmm.
want to be talked to as people. They don't want to be talked to as, oh, they have this, I want to, you, they know when you want to get something from them. That's what I'd say. Because
Mm-hmm.
even, not saying that I get a lot of people talking to me or asking for stuff, but you kind of know when people are just talking to you like, oh, I want to get this from you. I want to know this about you. It's a very different meaning. And to me personally, you would have a very, very different conversation with them, and you reflect with them differently when you know that they just want to have a genuine conversation versus when it's networking, quote unquote.
Mm-hmm.
Long spiel. Sorry.
There were so many golden nuggets in that. I loved how you said, though, how networking has just shaped into this really serious, professional value exchange only through like getting something out of it type of
Yeah.
concept. And I agree. Like, I've had a few conversations with people where they're like, Asia, I hate networking. There's just so much pressure. It makes me anxious. But when you look at it in the way that you said, where it's just treating people like people, I had a little like mind blown explosion there for a second because it speaks so much truth. Like people just want to connect over something that they enjoy, right? Like that's kind of
Exactly.
where conversation all really start, like genuine conversation starts. And congrats on that interview, by the way. That's a really cool story.
Thank you. It's just literally simplicity
Mm,
always wins. Always wins.
for sure. So what now that everything has changed a bit and we kind of can't go to events like this, I like the
Mhm.
point you brought up about you want to talk about something that you genuinely have an interest in or you're passionate about. So how would you use that, but in the circumstances of the pandemic with a limitation in seeing people in person?
Okay. Well, with me, I just kind of always just give stories about me because that's all I can talk about. But I'd say in the same light, in the same sense, but just doing it
Hmm.
digitally now. I'd say it won't be as fast first, but it will eventually reap the same benefits. So with me, as I mentioned, I've been following more creatives and talk and like just seeing more of their content. So with
Hmm.
that, when they post and I'm able to see it because of my screen time, I would like comment and like not just a comment like, oh, just the two like some heart emojis or some fire emojis, like
Yeah.
literally just
Yeah.
because I realized that too, creatives in the creative sense, but creatives
Yep.
love hearing like different comments that are not just, oh, this is sick, this is fire. It's just like, wow, I
Yeah.
really like how you did this, I really like how you did that, and just kind of slipping in there. And then I've gotten through that, I've been able to get a couple follow backs and just people then once I've kind of put out that effort, then they start reciprocating, and then through that
Hmm.
it'll just continue to grow, and then you'll end up having conversations with them either through DM or something, or even just
Hmm.
a lot of times just kind of, I'd say, in the same way in person, putting yourself out there, but putting yourself out there in a digital landscape as well. So not being afraid to, oh, what are they going to think if I just say this comment about their work or something? Like you just kind of have to have no holds barred with that. I'd see a
Hmm.
lot of stories like even different people's stories. It doesn't even have to be creatives. Like I have a lot of people, a lot of friends that are quote unquote entrepreneurs and doing a lot of different things. It's just
Yeah.
swiping up in a story. It's like, wow, I really see that you're putting your work into this. Good job. And it's just letting people know. And again, back to what Asia and I said, just having it being genuine and not
Hmm.
just commenting for the sake of commenting or doing this
Yeah.
for the sake of, okay, I need to do this to quote unquote network, just genuinely have an interest. And in that sense, what I
Hmm.
also realize, you may kind of switch what you're interested in or what you feel more to. Because in the professional networking, you may be inclined to chase after kind of bigger clients or bigger creators. But
Hmm.
once you start kind of seeing the actual content people are making and diversifying yourself, or not have to be content, but different posts people are making and diversifying yourself that way, you're able to see what niche actually resonates with you. And then that way you're able to make more of genuine comments and genuine connections because you genuinely are interested in it. That's three genuines. That should be good luck or something.
Probably is. It probably is. But legit, I agree, especially with the meaningful, genuine, that's number four, comments. Because I know for me anyway, most of the networks that I've grown over time is through social media. And it's simply through looking at someone's feed and thinking, damn, like that looks really cool what they're doing. And looking at their posts and their captions and then leaving something that you honestly would tell them if they were in person. Like, for example, if I saw someone's artwork that they did, I wouldn't come up to them and say, I love that, hun. XX heart emoji, you know what I mean? And leave. I would go,
Yeah.
oh, no way. Like, what inspired you from
Bec-
this artwork? You know, how long have you been working on this for? Why did you create it? So I like the idea, like you mentioned before, where it's just treating people like people, not as if they're robots online, you know,
yeah.
because everyone
No.
has a story. Oh, sorry?
I was just gonna say I like what you said where it's like what inspired you, why'd you do this? Like that's kind of also that switch because you switch from this social media norm of saying like the quick comments, but instead not being afraid to kind of dig into like a what would I really
Mhm.
ask them in person, as you said.
Yeah, exactly. Like asking questions. I think that really distinguishes what's a meaningful comment versus something where you're commenting for the sake of it, but you're taking on the role as a listener and you're asking a
Hmm.
question and you want to tune in with what they have to say as opposed to being the one stating their opinion. I feel like that is the distinguisher between like a good comment that comes from a place of curiosity and love versus more static and almost like salesy in a way,
Yeah,
right? Which is not
yeah,
something that you want to be known for in the space. And I agree
exactly.
too, when it comes to networking, there is that bit of pressure to be very professional. Like the one thing is that I love business clothes, but I feel like, I don't know if it's just me, all business students, I'm not the biggest fan of wearing like really tight pencil skirt, tights, heels, blazer all the time. Like I like it once in a while, but sometimes
Yeah,
I just want to show up being to people in like a crop top and like some shorts and some
I
sneakers and be like, hey.
I honestly feel that 100%. Like,
Yeah.
not in a bad sense, but I feel like I not I won't say genuinely, but I strongly dislike like the professional norms
Mm-hmm.
and like the professional culture. Even with I won't get
Mm-hmm.
started on it. I swear I'll go on a tangent. But emails, oh my god.
Oh my gosh.
I can just feel the fakeness when I read it.
Yep.
It's just like you wouldn't say this in person. Please talk to me normally.
I feel that. Yep. What's
Yeah.
one part? Okay, a little segue though, but what is one part of an email that pisses you off? Like when people write it,
Like a phrase or
a
just
phrase or like certain punctuation, because I know that can be a huge turn off when reading them.
um hmm. Well, I'd say this is more specific to my workplace.
Yeah.
Well, everyone has it, but in my industry, like there's a lot of different teams that are involved with executing a project. So
Mm-hmm.
sometimes there's a lot of people on email, and just to make sure someone sees it, you have to at them. So I hate when it's like a generic email to like
Mm-hmm.
3 or 4 people, and it's like you've have said my name, and then you still at me. It's just like I promise you, I swear, I know what to do. I will do it. Just just relax. And I also hate wrong, weirdly like lines on email. Like
Like
if
what?
you there's one guy at work, he like each sentence is its own
Mm-hmm.
line. And it's like you can see at the edge, they're all different lengths of sentences. And it's just
Are you talking about the indents of an email?
no, this is literally
Oh.
just the body of the email, like a paragraph, and each
Yeah.
sentence is its own line. And it's just like,
Oh, what are those people? Oh, are they those like quote unquote quick to the point people where they like don't want to
yeah,
send you a big ass paragraph because they don't want to look
basically.
intimidating? Mm.
But like the lines add up. It's basically a paragraph. So
That's so funny. So how do you send an email though? In a perfect world, if people could follow the way you send emails, how would that look like?
hmm. Um, I at my work, I try to be personable. So like in the
Mm.
mornings, for the
Mm-hmm.
most part, until like 11:30, whenever I'm emailing someone, I always say good morning and then their name. And then
Mm-hmm.
depending on like where we are, like closer to the weekend, I'd be like, oh, hope you're looking forward to the weekend. Like
Mm-hmm.
if it was Monday or Tuesday, hope you enjoyed your weekend. It's just generally like me, I try to type as much as I would as a normal conversation.
No, but like I agree. I feel like I never knew really that emails could irk as much, but I think it's because I don't really pay attention as much. I kind of just type whatever, but I have leeway because I'm now working for people who are in startups. But they're people who are like my parents' age. So they use words like Macintosh and I like laugh on the inside, but I don't say nothing. But I feel you on that. Like I don't know. I feel, hopefully, I keep saying I feel. It's like my inner therapy self to be like, this is what I think. I feel
Mm.
um, that there's just a lot of barriers that need to be broken down in professional spaces to make it a much more approachable industry and have less pressure, especially for the younger generations. Because I
Say it
definitely
again.
felt like, right? I felt like it was so cookie cutter going into business. And business is not like, does not have to be like that. You know what I
Literally.
mean?
Oh my gosh. I would I always go back to the accounting stories and like co-op. It's just like they
Hmm.
really made it like in a sense, not like they brainwashed you, but they kind of put onto you what the
Mm,
professional culture should be instead
yep.
of letting you go out experience it firsthand. So then I think that's where it
Hmm.
kind of all starts, that mysterious, like, oh, like what the actual corporate culture is or professional culture is. And it's just like they mold
Hmm.
you into that and then
Hmm.
you're expecting it. So then obviously like your first day or your first big job, you end up going into it and then acting the way that you basically despise just because, again, even just the workplace culture, what you think should be happening. So,
No, I agree. And it's good to have conversations like this, especially for those who are in that awkward in between of do I lean into what society pressures me to and how to present myself in the workspace versus based off my intuition, this is who I am, this is how I feel, and that's how I want to act. And as long as it comes from a place of respect towards everyone else in the room, I think it should be fine, you know?
mm,
So I know you mentioned that you're about to graduate soon, but you've also been running a lot of side gigs while you were finishing up school. So did you ever feel because you were graduating soon, you had to put more work into building your side hustle? That way you could kind of pursue it as opposed to maybe a typical corporate 9 to 5 that you may feel pressured you need for a safety blanket in terms of maybe health benefits or just a fixed flow of income.
yeah, I think that's something I'm constantly battling, especially
Mm-hmm.
coming up to this more end part now.
Yeah.
It's just kind of the mix of me doing my regular 9 to 5. It's not like I don't like my job. I do enjoy, like especially the field that I'm in and the work that I'm doing. But it's
Mm-hmm.
just I realize literally how much time is like time literally passes by so fast. And it's
Yeah.
just like I wish I had more time to put into my side hustles and my creative work. But then that comes at a price, as you mentioned, to kind of taking that bigger leap.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess in my sense, what I view it as is like I will I view it as I'm still young and I try to
Mm.
hold on to that. It's like I'm still starting off, I still have time. But
Mm-hmm.
also I view it as if it's something that I want to really do, then I will kind of have to get in that hustle culture, but not kind of staying grounded in a sense.
Mm-hmm. So are there any certain like practices or routines you do to keep yourself in check of that, especially as graduation approaches? So the question I had was, did you ever feel you were stuck between hustling and slowing down now that you're near graduation and you do have a side hustle, but you also are kind of leaning into a more corporate job at the moment, right?
Hmm. Yeah. Um, I'd say have been kind of, I'd say not, I was going to say mesmerized. That's not the wrong word, but I have been kind of blinded to just focusing on the hustle mode.
Mm.
Just and
Mm-hmm.
it's just kind of happened because, as I mentioned, like with less time. So obviously, when I'm not working the corporate job, then literally all the free time I have goes into the creative and my other side hustle. So in a sense, I feel like there is like in a not in a negative sense, but I feel just in human nature, I don't feel like I can slow down because
Mm-hmm.
you like I have a goal and I want to achieve it. And then because of that ingrained, like I know I've talked about a lot about like how to kind of avoid hustle mode and kind of send your boundaries, but genuinely just like once you constantly keep working and then you either like you take a day off and it's not even maybe even worse, like it may be during the midweek, you don't have
Mm.
anything and you're just like, I don't want to do anything today. But then because of pressures, not even societal pressures, but just being hard on yourself, you're like, oh, I'm not doing enough. Look at
Mm.
that's how I'm not gonna achieve this. And that's kind of like the torn dilemma that you're in. It's like, yeah, you need to kind of rest to be able to achieve things, but also, yeah, I need to also continue working to be able to get better to achieve things. So I
Mm-hmm.
guess because of the method I'm in right now, I have less looked at the slowing down into more hustling, trying to achieve more. But
Mm-hmm.
within that, I also catch myself as like, remind myself of the things I've brought up before. I'm still young. There's is
Mm-hmm.
always going to be stuff to learn, and it's literally a marathon, not a sprint. Like everyone's in their own kind of race,
Mm-hmm.
so it's just kind of being aware again and like letting yourself understand. Okay, you like it's not always gonna be 24/7 work, and things
Yeah.
literally take time. So yeah, I've been torn in between, but I have been trying to take my times. Like Sundays are my times so far. Sundays just me. I relax, I reset,
Mm-hmm.
get ready for the new week, watch a
Yeah.
nice movie. But I think that's my that's my advice. Give yourself like a day, maybe more, maybe less for some people, but give yourself reset.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Are you still with us, Jordan?
I'm here. I'm here.
Hi.
You froze for a second. I was like, oh no.
You didn't leave me? But I like what you said though about the Sunday because that's something that I'm like learning how to do as well. And I think it's good that you brought up how important it is to shift gears and that you can't always be going at that fast pace 24/7, 7 days of the week. So it's nice that you have a specific day where resting is productive to you and the time you spent is actually contributing to your energy levels later on in the week. And I'm sure it helps you avoid burnout too, right?
Yes, for sure. Like that accompanied with when I have more time on weekends to actually take a full weekend off and just
Yeah.
literally don't look at anything for either your work or your school, whatever it is. Literally just hands off, take a break.
I totally agree. Like, I know, I'm sure Jordan and I were kind of similar in a sense. In university, we were always on the go. Like, we always had something that we were doing. And if we weren't doing that, we were hanging out with friends. And I realized I never really had a lot of alone time in university. And it wasn't until after graduation when like things slowed down with the pandemic and we were forced to go in like hibernation mode in a way where we couldn't always be pumping out content and meeting people, but we had to remain in an isolated space for quite an extended period of time. And I remember talking to my therapist about it and almost feeling guilty that I was enjoying a leisure time now as opposed to, trying to nail a job at the time or trying to make my side hustle a sustainable source of income for myself. And she definitely leaned towards the more, post grad anxiety is so totally normal, Asia, and just take this leisure time to do the things that you enjoy in life without the pressure of like needing to accomplish anything or be good at anything, um, do things without a goal and just kind of enjoy the process. So that's definitely, I feel like I'm on like a different flip side coin from you, where I've actually now enjoyed leisure time so much where it feels hard to get back into the hustle mode. Because
Really?
like, yeah, I have this mental health bit of me on the side where it's like, you know what? Yes, sit down and
Just take a
read for
break.
3 hours. Let's take a break. And you know what? Go for that walk with your friend and stuff your face with kimchi. And I'm just like, yes, take time for myself. But then next thing I know, I'm like, yo, I've been spending the past 3 days just like vibing, but not actually like
Hmm.
and existing, but not really putting in the work. So it's definitely been a weird imbalance because I don't want to go back to what it was like in university where I was always on the go. I never had time for myself. Sleep was like the bottom list of my
Told you
priorities.
guys, she did not
Yeah.
sleep.
Yeah, I didn't expose, it's fine. But now I get 8 hours, 8 beautiful hours of
8 hours
sleep.
for Asia? That
It's
deserves a clap.
mind blown. Anything can happen, kids. But now that I get 8 hours, I'm like, yes, I'm going to stay in my bed and scroll on my phone for like half an hour. And I'm going to take my time making my bed and like journaling and reading and like maybe doing an oracle reading. Sometimes I'm like, maybe I'll just go for a walk. Actually, I don't go for walks. I just go around my kitchen and look in the fridge and in the cabinets.
Hey, who
Yeah.
who is there to determine what a walk determines? You are walking.
Exactly. I move my Apple Watch counts it. So that's all that matters.
If the Apple Watch counts it, that means it must be true.
Exactly. So, no, I totally agree that there is that weird shifting of gears now that graduation comes to a close, or and even like right after graduation, where it's like, should I be doing more than the other? Because I feel like university forces you to hustle 4 years
Yeah,
straight. And now it's like habitual to be in that mode all the time. So it's like, okay, but when can I now determine when it's okay to hustle and not? And like that recommendation you brought, where, Sunday is you time. This is where you refuel and you re energize and you decompress, and your time is yours and no one else's. I feel that that's like such a good boundary to set. And honest opinion, do you find you follow that every Sunday, or do you find some days or some weeks you kind of like fall off a bit?
so I mostly I mostly stick to the Sundays,
Yeah.
but obviously, especially with doing something extra outside of a full-time job,
Mm-hmm.
there's limited time for, I guess, that resting because
Yeah.
you want to put as much time into it. But of course, I still do, even if it's not the whole day, if it's just a half day, even if it's just literally the night and
Mm.
actually watching a full movie instead of, okay, I'll just put this on before bed because I'm so tired. But
Yeah.
I generally try to watch a full movie. So that means it's like an allocated at least hour and a half, 2 hours where I'm literally just relaxing.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's proportionate, but as long as it's at least a little something, then it works out for me. It's not always as much as I would like, but hey, I take what I can get.
Mm-hmm. I like the idea that sometimes it doesn't have to be fixed. Like when you say, yes, Sunday, sometimes it's maybe just that Sunday afternoon because you have to do
Yeah,
something with family like Sunday morning. So just being flexible, but knowing at least you give yourself a space to spend it only for you and be selfish within that time.
exactly. And some people, like, they may not have that amount of time. So even if it can be as little as 20 minutes to yourself, just
Mm-hmm.
not doing anything, just being with yourself, just being you, doing whatever you like, no matter how long it is, no matter how short it is,
Mm-hmm.
whatever it is that kind of helps you and kind of rejuvenates you, refreshes you, then that's fine by me. I'm not
I
here to
like
judge you.
that. I like that. It reminds me of the Tony Robbins quote. I say it all the time, but sometimes I feel I say things a bit too harsh. But I feel like this is the kind of vibe we're going for, where he's like, if you don't have 10 minutes out of your day to do something for yourself, you don't have a life. And I'm like, that is so true. Because I feel like half the time people in this community are always like, I'm so busy. I have things to do. And like Jordan, I can totally attest that we've probably uttered those words from our
Oh,
mouth before.
definitely.
And I feel like we do have those 10 minutes. We just don't realize that's time spent where it could be put towards ourselves instead of maybe scrolling through social media for 10 minutes
Yeah,
or
that's what I was gonna mention because
exactly.
with the screen time in the iPhone, you can
Mm,
see like on the let's see the quote unquote bad days where you press ignore limit for the day, you can
yeah.
see how much time you've spent on the individual apps. It's just like, wow, imagine if I had some of that time back, could have done something for myself. But hey, then not in a negative sense, not so you can look at it bad way, but you're able to see that there is time in a day. You just gotta
Hmm.
find it. Not in a
Yeah.
spooky sense, but yeah.
I get that though. It's like being thoughtfully aware of the time you spend on your phone and being honest with
Mhm.
yourself too. Because sometimes I'm like, what do you mean you just scrolled on your phone for 15 minutes today? And I look at my screen time and it was like 2 hours.
Yeah, that
So
screen
I feel
time
like,
catches up.
honestly, because our brain, I remember reading in a book, is that it works in a way where it tries to persuade us to give some sort of reasoning that we're doing the right thing. Like it tries to justify every action we do. So sometimes when you think, quote unquote, you're being productive, if you actually use something to track your time, for example, screen time, or you
Mhm.
actually write down, which is something I do to check, like check in with myself or more like check out myself, where every 15 minutes for a day, I write down what I do because sometimes I think, oh yeah, I like worked on with that client for about 2 hours, but in reality, it was about half an hour because the other half hour was me texting maybe like my boyfriend, and then the other half hour was maybe I went to go make a snack and talk to my mom, and the other half
Mm.
hour I was just scrolling on my phone. But in my head, I'm telling myself, oh no, I took
I
that
was there for
time
two
for
hours.
client work. I was there for 2 hours, but no, I wasn't. So it's really just checking yourself out and holding yourself accountable because I feel like it's easy to slip up, especially like, I don't know, when you're in that leisure mode, or like, I feel
Yeah.
like I definitely have used the pandemic as an excuse card, which is very valid, just not all the time, all the time.
Yeah, exactly. It's back to the balancing feature. It's just,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, things were different. It's a pandemic, but also it's like,
Yep.
yeah, you could have done it. You could have.
I totally feel that. So just to like kind of wrap up the main topics of the podcast episode, if someone were to kind of like flip through, listening to this episode, they were kind of maybe doing the laundry or cleaning their room, and I said, "Hey, these are the biggest takeaways. Like if you heard nothing from this episode, but there was one thing you wanted them to take away, what would it be?"
One thing I thought I was gonna get three, Asia.
Okay, you can get three. You can get three. I'll give you three. I'll give you three.
Yeah, I
Because
don't
you
know why.
probably said that like what, genuine 3 times. So this is the magic thing
Okay.
that comes out of
Okay,
it.
you just remind me of that. Goes back to my bad memory. I'll try. One thing that's just a constant thing with me. That's one thing I've constantly worked on, and especially the past year of the pandemic, is
Mm-hmm.
awareness.
Mm,
Awareness, not only just with yourself, but also just with kind of everything, with how you handle relationships, how you do different things, awareness of how much time you're allocating to different items or what items are allocating your time as much. So awareness is a big thing because it can kind of, I say in a sense, it can not fix, but it can bring you to what you need to do to fix a lot of negatives that you may see in your life. Just
mm-hmm.
literally having the awareness of where these different things are coming from or what has triggered them,
Mm.
that can help a lot, especially as we were talking about the hustle culture and everything. It's kind of having the awareness of what triggers you to kind of flip it to make it seem like it's hustle culture instead of inspiration.
Yep.
So that's one big thing. Awareness, word of the day. No,
You sure it's not
just the
genuine?
second word. The second word of the day. Um, being genuine in what you're doing.
Mm,
Um, genuine in your relationships, your contact with people, with your networking, but also I speak for myself and in this industry, being genuine with the creative or work that you're doing, whatever side hustle you're doing. I always keep to this and I always say to it that, yeah, a lot of entrepreneurship or whatever business, the end goal, not the end goal, but you have to make money to basically survive.
Mm,
But you have to kind of put heart or put some a reasoning, finding a why into why you're doing that and why you want
mm-hmm.
to pursue this path. So I'd say genuine kind of wraps up that whole. And number three, I don't see. I told you, I don't know why I asked for three.
Number
I just wanted
three.
options. Three. Hmm. Let's say comparison versus inspiration.
Mm,
I'd say that it goes back, it's kind of wrapped in both the other awareness and being genuine, but comparison versus inspiration, that would kind of, that's like the fence of what deters your mood into what you see for
mm,
hustle culture or even just through genuine life. That's how a lot of social media or the internet, where they say it's so bad for us, is because they're viewing it as in the comparison way, or we are going through it as looking through a feed. And as DJ even mentioned, and being transparent, just on the explore page, how she would compare herself to either different influencers or different people that are kind of in the same industry. So being having that balance or knowing between the difference between comparison and influence, I'd say
mm-hmm.
that kind of will help you out in a lot of ways more than one, not only in your work, but also just in life in general. Because even with relationships or whatever, you can compare your relationship to someone else's, you can compare your journey with someone else's, but you can also view it as inspiration and having that awareness of where you are and being genuine of what you want to do. See, look at that, wrapping them all
Wow.
three in one.
Mic drop. I like that, especially because I feel in the personal development world, like the beginner step is to be aware. However, like just being aware isn't enough. And I
Yeah.
remember feeling that, especially when I was talking to my therapist and I was talking about relationships. And I'd done all the steps and like written out how I felt on in my journal, and I knew where I was at. And I was like, Veronica, I just feel so like aware of the situation, but why am I so frustrated?
Mm-hmm.
And she was like, well, Asia, just because you're aware doesn't make you the fucking like Dalai Lama or something. You're not like Gandhi just because you're aware. Like it doesn't remove the emotions. If anything, now you have to act on it. And I
Exactly.
feel that's where the genuine aspect comes in, where it's like, okay, now your actions have to be pure. It has to be from an authentic place, and you're not, hiding from something. And it doesn't come from a place of fear or doubt. And I especially liked it too when you said if you are from a place of collaboration, right? As opposed to comparison or competitiveness, naturally your actions will be genuine because you're coming from a place of wanting to lift each other up, right? Build other
Exactly.
people and what they're pursuing. So I really like those three tips. Yo, if everyone actually lived like that every single day, the world would be a better place, I feel
The
like.
world would literally be chef kiss. I heard that in the show. That's why I wanted to use that
Yo,
expression.
I use it all the time in the comment section now because I'm trying to stray away from emojis and like use words to show how I feel. So I just do asterisks
Mm-hmm.
now of like what I would do in person, and
Ah.
chef's kiss is like my go-to right now.
Oh, fun fact. I wanted to
Mm,
mention it before, but when we were talking about the networking and online and how
yeah.
to kind of shift the networking from in person to online, I
Mm,
did. I don't know if you talked about it in one of your little spiels on social media, but
mm-hmm.
through your interaction with people, I've kind of honed on some of those tips and just kind of being more genuine with the interaction I have with people, either commenting my work or with my commenting of people's work and DMing them, just being literally just talking as if you're in person. So
Mm-hmm.
just let you know, Asia's tips work in real life.
Yeah, I'm so happy. That's good to know. Because sometimes I'm like, am I just getting lucky? Like, is this working for me just because? So
No, no,
it's good
no.
to hear you've been reaping the benefits from coming from a genuine place where you build people up. I'm trying to use all the words you use, but I
I'm
can't.
telling you. No,
I'm
they just
trying.
come up on you.
Okay, well, considering we're on the topic of social media, I'll leave you like a last fun question. But if you could find 3 emojis that summarize your identity, which emojis would they be? This is such a meta question, like such a Gen Z question, but I have no shame in
Yeah.
asking. So
Can I reach out for my phone for assistance?
yes, you can. You can see your most recent ones. Loki,
I,
I feel like knowing people's most recent emojis can be an exposing moment. You know what I mean?
I don't know how does it work? Is it top or is it like top down? Those are your most recent, or is it like 1, 2, 3, 4?
I'm pretty sure it's like row. It's by no, sorry, by column. I think it's by column. Let me check because I know which ones I use the most. So I'm gonna check too.
Well, I say number 1, going on the question, is definitely
Yeah.
the laughing emoji. It's
Mm-hmm.
just that's just me. Oh, I love the head bandage emoji. It's a
Yeah.
perfect one for me. It's just like, I don't know, head bust. And hmm,
Last one.
you know the one that the tongue out, the like the googly eye.
Wait, can you do the face?
Let me look at it.
Oh my God, that one. You look like okay, so your head's kind of tilted and your tongue. I'm trying to give a visual representation for those who are listening on a podcast.
Oh yes.
Tongue's out on the side, kind of like a dog, when they stick their head out the window, it's like flagging in the back of your tongue and your head's kind of tilted to get that air wave.
No?
Yeah.
A lot of moments are happening in that one emoji there, but it's just like you say something silly, you say something serious, that you're just like, ooh, don't take it too seriously. That's me.
I love that. I like those. Wow. I didn't know. Okay, quick
Okay.
question though. What is your top 3 emojis you're using right now? Or is it those 3? Is that why you picked them?
No.
Oh.
One of them is, oh yeah, that's messed up. It's because I just used it, but the laughing emoji is always first. The
Yes.
second one was that
Okay,
guy.
what's with guys and using the I don't know emoji? Like every single guy's phone, like I've seen, that's always on their top.
Have you ever thought, Chelsea? I mean, is it that we just don't know?
Shit, I guess you're right.
That's literally because it's just like, yeah, I'm saying this, but hey, maybe it's just like, I guess that's something I need to look at, because also with the tongue emoji, it's just like I never really want to say something direct. It's just like maybe
Mm.
or joking. And then my other one is, I don't know how to describe it. The screw face, not screw face.
The
It's
screw
like a
face.
twisted face.
A
Can I zoom in?
twisted
No.
face. Yeah, you can let me see.
Let's see.
Wait, you gotta tap the
No,
screen
that's
for it
not
to.
working.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, it's on
Mm,
manual focus, and I don't want to change it.
mm. I got no idea what that is. Are you sure you can't do it with your face? Oh wait, no, we're getting closer. We're getting closer. Oh no, no,
Ah,
she's
now I
just
just
gone
saw it.
now.
Can you see it?
I just see a yellow circle, Jordan.
At
Oh,
least I know
that
that.
one. Oh, that one. Oh, see, I refer to that as the drunk emoji. Like when your face is a little
Oh,
wonky and you're kind of like, oh, you know what I mean? Like,
well,
oh.
that is not my usage
what,
of it. I'm
what do you
just not
use it
always drunk,
for?
guys.
What do you use
um,
it for?
I mean, it's kind of in the same realm as the other ones. There's just like I don't know. I
Oh,
just
is
kind
it?
of have that face usually. It's like whenever I hear something, like I speak a lot, or I express a lot with my face.
Mm,
So like, because I had FaceTime my friend sometimes during work, and then she'd just be muted during meetings, and like
yeah,
she'll see my expression when I hear something just like out of the blue, and
yeah,
she's always telling me like, if any of these people, if you ever had your camera on,
yeah.
it would be over. So I think that's where the stem of my emojis come in, because those emojis, I literally do them in person, because it's just like,
They, you do them in person. That's so funny.
That's just me.
I like that. Wow. I think that's a great way to close the episode on is your emoji use.
Oh, you're not gonna get out of here quick, even though this is
Oh,
your
I
podcast. What
gotta
are your
share. Okay.
yeah?
All right. So definitely my top one is the one that not only is used the most, but like I think is an accurate representation because it's a strategic move of why I use this emoji as
Okay,
a
we're gonna
marketer.
we're gonna
Okay,
dig into that.
we're gonna go
This
dig
is
into the
this
marketing
is my
side.
podcast now.
Jordan's taking over. He's now your host, both of the Zoom and of the episode. So the reason why is because you know the typical heart emoji, right? Like
Mhm.
it's pretty the standard one. I don't like using that one because I mean, when it comes to marketing 101, you want to make sure your comment stands out above them all. So you want to use an emoji that like people haven't seen before, but like still
Mhm.
gets your point across. So I use the heart emoji. Like if you go all the way back, it's kind of where like the spades is and like the clubs. So that
Oh,
heart.
is it that like it's not redder, but like darker red?
Kind of. It's got like a darker red outline and it doesn't have like the white little like shading kind of section of like the normal heart.
I think that's the one I use too. Wait, maybe.
Yeah, so I use that one because everyone in my industry uses the other heart, and I want my comment to be different and stand out. Because I don't know if you noticed, but a lot of people, if they stick to the same emojis, you know it's their comment without even seeing their username or like the actual words in the text. So I'm just trying to get my brand in people's heads by using an emoji that stands out and is something
That's
consistent with all my comments. So, and plus, like I
that's
always put a heart. So
of course, Asia's loving, but see, I'm asking questions, but Asia's also giving you strategic social media tips right here, guys.
just by accident. And honestly, how I picked it up is because there was this one girl whose stories I always liked, and she always used that heart. And I was like,
Uh
this is so specific to her brand. And that's when I was like, heck yeah, just use emojis as your brand, just like how Coca-Cola always uses red or 7 Up always uses green.
mhm.
And it's
Just
just
having
good
something that's like
branding.
yours. And
Exactly.
that
People like
goes on to
remember it.
another topic we talked about, inspiration versus
Exactly.
comparison. Wow.
Exactly. I was inspired by what she did. I was not jealous of her heart use. Um, okay, this one, it's only because I honestly,
Okay,
even
Asia.
though I just need to feel like I need to justify all my reasonings. Because on social media, even though it's my job, I'm actually not on it as often as people think. Like I think most of the time I use it to text my boyfriend, and the emoji I use the most with him is
Oh
you know
no.
how Boots from like Shrek, he has like the cat sad eyes.
That's one you use.
That's the one I use the most.
Hey,
Because
I mean, I think we needed the backstory to kind of understand it.
because some
It
people
makes
use
sense.
it
It makes
as
sense
like
now.
that they're sad. And I'm like, no, I use it like when I want to be cute, but you can't see my face.
Hmm.
I feel so exposed right now. I don't want to be that
Well,
silly little baby voice girlfriend, but like that's like just the vibe I get from the emoji.
hey, see, that's the same thing. Everyone kind of has their own interpretation of some emojis.
Yeah. Yep. It's fine. It's not sad. It's not me being sad. It's me trying to be cute. That's really what the emoji is. But
Just making sure everyone knows it's not me being sad.
yeah, I'm not a sad girl, I promise. Even there's nothing wrong with being a sad girl, but like just FYI. And my
Okay.
last one, my last one, okay, it's in my top 5, but it's the clapping emoji because like most of the
Ah,
time if I'm texting someone, I'm like, yeah, you're killing it, or keep up the good work. Like I'm usually like
mhm.
coming from a hype perspective. So I always do the clapping emoji because I feel like, it's very supportive.
You're like really personifying your messages, basically.
Mm, yes, but like those are my most recent ones. I'd say the clapping one or the heart one embodies what I do. The cute little baby voice girlfriend one, no, that one doesn't. I feel like if I had to define myself, I'd swap it out for ooh, this is tough.
See, I told you. That's why I had to
Yo.
pick up my phone when you asked me. I was like, well,
Oh my God. You're just like exposing the podcast host because I don't even know how to answer the questions I give. Hmm. Okay. Well, I'm stuck between the
super.
butterfly.
Next time I'll be right.
I'm stuck between the butterfly because I feel like that's
I
like
actually like that.
super like basic early 2000s style girl. And I feel like that's such like the trend right now.
I feel like that really does embody you, to be
Yeah,
honest.
I kind of dig it, but I also half of me is like, I don't want to be trendy. I want to be unique to my personality. I'm indecisive as fuck. Can you tell? Or I'll put the sun because like everyone needs a little sunshine. That'll be
Ah,
it. So
yeah,
it's stuck between a
can like
metamorphosis
merge
of a
them together.
butterfly, yeah, and like then the sunshine, just two-way use.
Well, they go hand in hand, Butterflies flying
Mm,
in the sun, pretty little sight.
exactly. This is good reasoning. I like the way you think. Thank you. That was probably what my subconscious was saying. I just couldn't get it into words.
I'm here for you. That's what I'm here for.
Thanks, man. Thanks. Oh, but are there any last minute thoughts you want to say to anyone dealing with, hustle culture, social media? I feel like we gave a lot of good tips.
Yeah, I feel like we went through kind of a lot, went through the whole spectrum. But
Mm,
again,
mm,
I'd say on the last note, I'd say go on your own path.
mm-hmm,
Um, keep doing what you're doing. And another note, a side note on the comparison and inspiration thing, it's kind
mm,
of to, even though you may be inspired, to consistently still stay with what you genuinely want to do.
mm-hmm,
Because in this great world, it's not really a saturated market, but if you become as other people are and you just copy someone's style, then that
mm-hmm,
makes it a saturated market. But each person, you can have the exact same supplies and come up with many different end results and ed projects. So stay with your gut and what you want to create, what you want to build, whatever it is, but use the inspiration lightly and not as
mm,
kind of a copying sense. And yeah, just run your race, a marathon, not a race. Stick to it. And if anything, we said that we are open and we love whatever help you need. You can reach
mm-hmm,
out to us and we're ready for a conversation.
mm-hmm.
And I think that's it.
Oh, I love that. I love what you said, where you can all be given the same supplies, but come out with a different outcome. That was like, yo, my mind just blew for a second. So I really like that little nugget. Oh, you're just full of good things, Jordan, today. Always.
Oh, thank you.
No
Appreciate it.
problem.
And also
Um,
thank you for having me as well.
oh, of
I've always
course.
I've always told Asia, we like this is kind of like what, a year or two in the making, that we always,
Mm,
when Asia's the original name came out for Asia's podcast and I was watching it, I was like, oh, I eventually want to be on it. I just want to get to the stage where I want to be able to do as much as I can and then give people as much as they need. And
mm,
I guess Asia felt like I was at that stage, even though I guess with imposter syndrome, I never really feel like that. But it's great to have people that support you, and in turn, you support them as well. And that's how the world
mhm.
continues to grow.
I like that. And of course, dude, like Loki, any time of your journey invited you on the podcast. I just felt this like weird inner like calling thing where I was like, you know what, Jordan, I
We
want to put him
always,
on my podcast.
we literally said, it was just like, we know when the exact moment will come and
Yeah,
they'll work out.
exactly. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And like, thanks so much for taking your time this evening, Jordan,
Of
to
course.
sit with us and talk about just breaking a lot of ceilings within the professional industry and breaking down what it really means to participate in hustle culture in a healthy way, as opposed to in a way that may break you down or come from a toxic, insecurity or doubt. So I appreciate you kind of giving a bit of your insight and maybe even exposing yourself a bit.
A tad. But hey, I
So
said I wanted to be genuine. I wanted to be
mm,
authentic, and that's what I came for.
Oh, I love that. And none of this was scripted, guys. So this was all purely just the flow of the conversation, which is, I feel, how many, podcasts should be.
Exactly.
For sure. Well, if you ever want to touch base with Jordan's work, I will put his email down below in the show notes and his Instagram handle and his portfolio, everything that he gives to this world, you will have access to. And like he said, feel free to reach out to him if you have any questions, if you're on a similar path, or you just know he's genius as fuck and you want to tap into his brain some more or learn from his expertise. Feel free to reach out. But other than that, that's the end of this episode, and we will see you guys later. Bye. You're back.
What happened?
I don't know. I think the
I swear I'm just the
professional.
hotspot my phone.
Okay.
I will to better Wi-Fi. I'm back
Oh, to
again.
better
I
Wi-Fi.
want to connect to better Wi-Fi.
Okay. Take your time. I'll just stretch.
I want us to. I saw that. I want us to do a hotspot with my phone.
We should practice I'll practice office chair exercises that I do. So
You
I
have
like
office chair
turn.
exercises?
Yeah, because I always love moving around, as Jordan, I'm sure, remembers very greatly in university. I can't sit still, ever. So, I just try to stretch and get creative with stretches. Okay, this is going to be so weird, because, obviously, we're just chilling. But I absolutely always have one leg up when I'm podcasting. I just have one leg up here. I got one leg up here. Sometimes I have both, because, girls can sit like this too. And I just reach for the stars, and I go to the side bit.
Well, fun fact, guys. Asia is half my size, so all these wonderful putting your feet everywhere is very easy for her. If I do that,
True.
everything will be kicked over. All right, you may lose me
It's
for
okay.
a quick second while
I'll
I can
entertain the audience with my aerobic movements.
aerodynamics.
Sorry, English, yes. This is why I didn't become an English major, guys.
I hated English as a child.
Oh,
as
I don't know. I had mixed feelings. I like making up my own words, so that's where it's a downfall.
I mean, that's kind of new. I didn't make
Well, I'm
up
hearing
my own.
cracks, Jordan. Are you sure you don't want to join me on this? This is great. I'm feeling it in my limbs.
There's so many things plugged in.